The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Napick and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Napick.
Welcome to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. This is show number 521. We have an exceptional array of guests today, all very innovative and dedicated in how they serve in the real estate community. I'm your host, John Bramblett, pitch hitting today for Bill Napick. I'm a licensed insurance advisor and business development representative for Stewart Insurance. I normally have a weekly insurance segment, but today I have the very good fortune to host the show. So let's get started. Our first guests are part of the DreamWorks Properties team. We have Honey Tucker and Therese Yates. Welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Before we get to the real important stuff, there is one thing that we do need to cover. Honey, I see that you're an Aggie.
Yes, I am.
What class?
Class of 97.
Fantastic. Class of 83. So we already have an exceptionally good show today because we have two Aggies. So that's excellent. So welcome, both of you. If you wouldn't mind sharing you both, give me your thoughts on the genesis of the DreamWorks Properties team.
Therese and I both started our real estate career as investors, mainly in multifamily housing and student housing. Getting our real estate license was something we always thought about doing, but we raised our children first. And once they got to an age where, we thought they had some more independence, then we both decided to get our license, and we joined our team together, DreamWorks Property Team.
So, Therese, how long has the team been together, and what's the makeup look like these days?
We've been together 5 years. It's she and I, and we did bring on a third partner, Bryson, but he's since gone on to commercial properties and stuff. So we deal mostly in residential and single family homes.
So, is there a part of the greater Houston area that you all focus?
We're mainly in the Woodlands, Conroe, Magnolia, Montgomery area, but we do a lot of things in the Heights as well.
So kind of that Woodlands North and then the Heights. That's fantastic. So, Therese, if you could share with me a bit, as you work with your clients, how important do you see the process and the education of that process for your clients? How critical is that in the success of working with a buyer or a seller?
We think it's very, we're seeing a lot of out-of-state buyers coming from California, Arizona, from different areas. And so we start off with them, consultation, we give them our buyer's packet. And that just kind of lines out all the ways that we go about helping them understand all the processes. Same things with first-time home buyers because, they don't know the FHA loan process, the appraisal process, getting approved, the inspections. They just think, we're just going to, get a contract and get our house in 30 days. So we like to really educate those buyers as well. So, Honey, what would be some of the elements that would be part of those packets that you're providing so that it truly does clarify, for me, either out of state or first time, what I'm going to be doing and when I'm going to be doing and why I'm doing it? What are some of those elements of those packages?
Our buyer's packet and our listing packet outlines every step of the transaction, starting from the beginning, like getting your home ready to sell, which includes staging, decluttering, that kind of thing. And then we detail how we bring in very experienced luxury photographers that come in. We do videography and photography. And that our packet also details just how the process works from the time you either go active on the market, you get the offers come in, you get the contract, all the contingency periods, which involve the inspection process, as well as the appraisal contingency and the financing contingency. That goes for listings and for the buyers, kind of the same thing. We educate them on what the option period is and what the option money as opposed to the earnest money and that kind of thing. Because like Therese said, we've got a lot of out-of-state buyers that have different laws coming from different states. So we like to educate our clients, every step of the way.
Do you find that ultimately that makes a more satisfied client, that there aren't, or there are less surprises when you provide that type of education and understanding up front?
Yes, for sure. I mean, it's always good to set the expectation with them so they know how everything is going to flow from step to step. And, it's Therese and I, we are the ones on our team that deal with, the real estate aspect. So with our clients, they can always get a hold of either one of us. We don't have other members of our team that answer our phones or answer any questions that are real estate related. Outside of just the two of us, we also have a marketing team, and they just handle the marketing aspect. And then we have transaction coordinators. But as far as the real estate process, our clients just deal with us.
Okay, so Therese, Honey had mentioned this aspect of hiring top line photographers and using videographers. Is that critical in today's market to have both good quality photos as well as good video?
It really is, because that's the first 90% of buyers are looking online right at first. That's where they're going to see everything. So if they go to HAR and they see the address and it says new, and you have these unprofessional photos or small iPhone photos, which some people do, they're going to look at that and just kind of move on. But if you've got high quality photos, drone photos, videography, you've got things it's like, wow, I really want to see that in person. That looks like that looks like it's worth this, price that's home.
So that truly does make a difference
really
in
does.
the I guess long term, the ability to sell the home and sell the home at the value that it wants to, that your seller wants. But I would also think that it would have an effect on the buyer that just truly gives me a feel for this is someplace I want to look at.
For sure. And when you see photos where they're very dark and the lights aren't turned on, it just kind of gives you an overall sense of the home. Just that the home is not properly cared for. Maybe they're cutting a lot of corners. If they're cutting on the real estate photography, it kind of appears that maybe they're doing that inside the home as well.
Let's talk a little bit about experience, because one of the things that I see that as a challenge that realtors are facing is because of the technology that we have today and the access to information. I have a feeling that a lot of times you have clients, whether they be first-time home buyers or those who are coming in from out of state, that feel like they have a great knowledge of the real estate market, but in reality, when you start to get to the nuances, maybe not as much. But because of that, how critical is it to have and to work with an experienced realtor that understands a market when you're making the decision to buy a new home or to sell your home?
Hiring an experienced realtor is one of the top things that you need to do when you're starting your home search. It's important to have a realtor that knows the market, that knows the neighborhood. Especially right now, there's a lot of sellers that we find that are pricing their homes based on what they've heard the market's like or has been like the last couple of years. So especially when you're a buyer, you want to have a good buyer's agent that knows what they're doing, not only to walk you through every step of the way, because there's a lot of deadlines that have to be met, but also to run the comps on the property to make sure you're not overpaying for that property.
So, Therese, you talk about a lot of focus, both the Heights and then which is in, for our listeners that are maybe not in the Houston area, the central part of the city, and I guess technically the highest part of the city, hence the name the Heights. But also just north of Houston is the Woodlands and Montgomery, Conroe, Willis, Magnolia, all in Montgomery County. How important it is to have that experienced agent, because those areas have just changed dramatically in the last 10 and 15 years.
Yeah, it has. And, she and I, we both live in that area, Conroe, Magnolia, so we know it like the back of our hand. So anytime someone's coming to us and saying, how are these, what about this price house? We know exactly what to tell them. We know the area, we know the comps, we know, different areas of floodplains, different, even in the Heights area. We know that area very well. It's totally changed. You've got some areas that are, multi-million dollars, and then 2 streets over, you've got some that need to be torn down. So we know that area very well. And we know the ways to do the comparables in that area. Like I said, when there is a $200,000, lot, and then a $4 million home 2 streets over, we've just sold and bought and, invested, like she said, personally, and we just really do know the areas. I think that's very important.
So let's step back a bit. So for our listeners today, if we've got listeners out there that I'm sure we do that are thinking about buying a home or they're thinking about selling their home, what would be the guidance you would give them in how to select the proper real estate professional for them? Why don't you start, Honey?
Okay, I think that you just need to do your research. You need to interview a couple of realtors just to see who you most connect with personality-wise, and also someone that you feel like you can trust, someone that you get a good read on, that's an honest person, that's going to be upfront and that's knowledgeable about the areas you're looking in.
Therese, what would you add to that?
I would say maybe referrals from friends and family,
Okay.
Reviews online. You can go to Trek and look up if there are any violations if you want to go that far.
Yeah.
Just really knowing what the person in the background is and.
Would you encourage a face-to-face cup of coffee discussion just to kind of, because I would imagine part of it's just got to be just basic chemistry.
That's what
Do
she
I
would,
feel like I
yes.
get along with somebody?
That's what Honey was saying. Yes, exactly. Just sit down, have a conversation, and just see if you mesh on your beliefs and your needs and wants and their experience.
So we're visiting with Honey Tucker and Therese Yates of the DreamWorks Properties. You're both part of the CBA Realtors team. How does CBA allow you to be successful with DreamWorks Properties?
CBNA is a boutique brokerage, and it's very education centered and also support centered. So if there's any time that we have a question, because no real estate transaction is ever going to be the same. So no matter what your experience is or your expertise, there's always going to be some unforeseen situations that are going to come up. And that's one of the things that we love about CBNA is that there's always someone like our broker that we can get a hold of. We also have a Facebook page where we bounce ideas off one another, ask questions. So our brokerage is really good. We really enjoy working for them because of the support and the experience and expertise of the agents.
So, Therese, if one of our listeners would like to get a hold of you to get some help in either buying or selling a home, how can they do that?
They can contact me on my Facebook page or text me directly at 903-452-2237.
And what's the address on your Facebook page?
We are as far as on Instagram and Facebook,
Yes.
It's DreamWorks Properties Team.
So DreamWorks Properties Team, Instagram and Facebook, and the phone number again is?
903-452-2237.
And Honey, how can they contact you?
You can call or text me. My phone number is 832-585-7614. And we have the same Instagram and Facebook page, DreamWorks Property Team.
DreamWorks Properties Team. Well, thank you, Honey. Thank you, Therese, both for being here on Real Estate Matters.
Thank you for having us.
Our next guest is the head of the Aries Realty Group, powered by EXP, is Javon Martin. Javon, welcome to Real Estate Matters.
Thank you for having me back.
We appreciate it. I'm intrigued by the name of your group, so give me a little history on why you decided to name your group Aries Realty Group.
I'll try and keep it short. Originally, the name was the J. Martin Real Estate Group, and there's, I think, like 7 or 8 other Martin Real Estate Groups. We've most definitely lost some business due to that. And so I was just kind of sitting down. I've got a military and government background. One of my call signs was Aries, but I wanted to tie it in with real estate. And Aries, all real estate services, the acronym kind of fell in together. And also at that point in time, I was going through a pretty rough transaction.
Okay.
And it was actually with one of my veteran clients, and he just kind of sat down, and the team, we were good with Aries. That's kind of the best way to sum it up. Aries is the god of war.
God of War, yes. So why did you decide to build your team? Why did you decide to have a team versus just work for a broker and just be on your own?
So when I originally got my license, I joined a team, and I grew immeasurably, like on that team, and got to a point where I went solo, and I actually needed support.
Okay.
And the broker I was with at that point in time was like, well, you could just refer out business. And I was like, well, I have kind of a set way of how I, take care of my clients. I'm very system oriented. Closer? Okay. I'm very system oriented, and I like helping other people succeed, not just my clients, but also other agents. So the team kind of evolved at that point.
So when you look to add people to your team, how big is your team now?
Right now, we have 4 active agents, 2 referral agents, and 3 support.
Okay, so when you're looking to build your team, are there certain criteria and characteristics that you look for in an individual that you know that if they come on board, they're going to be an asset not only to the team but to your clients?
Mm-hmm. So one of the first things I always do is if anyone approaches me and says, "Hey, I want to join your team," is we do a personality test. We do 16 personalities, not a disc personality. And one of a couple of the things I'm looking for are pillars.
Okay.
Honesty, integrity, innovation. Obviously, what are you going to be able to do? Like, go out of your way to help a client, and then also family first.
Okay.
I kind of poke around and look for those kind of hints, and really what are you going to do if you have an issue, or if you or a client have an issue? How are you going to resolve it? Run through a couple of scenarios.
So you talked about having a military and a government background. How has that shaped your real estate career, and how does that ultimately benefit your clients?
Well, I'm not afraid of paperwork.
Okay.
That's always a joke that I have with clients. It's like, yeah, we've got the most paperwork out of probably any agent that you'll work with. But it's just going back to education, kind of like you were talking about, systems, making sure that, us agents and our clients and just anybody actually tied in with the transaction are aware and know what's going on. That's one of the big things, and also push through. I've most definitely lit a couple of fires, but I did it with the intent of getting my client to the closing.
So tell me about, what do you mean by push through?
I've most definitely, I'm not a seasoned agent. I've only been an agent for 5 years.
Okay.
Or seasoned veteran agent. But I've had transactions. We just recently had a transaction where situation that is similar to what's going on with NAR popped up, and that agent just threw in the towel. They backed out of the contract, and I was like, well, we could have figured something out. And she's like, well, it's not worth her and her client's time. And I was like, but it could have been, type deal.
So they just really didn't understand what the changes truly are going to be, and that in many cases they're things that we should be doing anyway. Yeah,
and if you're communicating not just with your client, but everyone, all points in the transaction, and it's your goal to get from offer accepted to offer closed, then you should be pushing through. And it makes people uncomfortable sometimes, but you got to be uncomfortable to get to that comfortable, right?
Well, especially if it's, when you're looking with something that's so important as either helping somebody buy or sell a home. Mm-hmm. It's so critical. You've talked about systems a couple of times. How is having the right systems important to your clients, whether you're helping them buy or sell?
I've most definitely had past clients reach out to me, and they've got a friend who's buying a house and they don't understand what's going on. Or they're going to, my past clients and asking, hey, I know you had a good experience. How did you do this? And I get pulled in. But in all honesty, there isn't one buyer system, one investor system, one, seller system. We kind of have a baseline and we adapt it to our clients.
Okay.
And kind of what their motivation is, their goals, and what's important to them. And obviously what's important to the transaction.
Yeah. So, Honey and Therese talked earlier about this idea of making sure that the clients understand this is how we operate, and in your case, the system that we have. Do you follow that same pattern that you make sure everybody understands up front that this is how we do business at Aries?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for every listing or even every buyer, everyone who's a part of the transaction, minimum once or twice a week, depending on what's going on or what type of transaction it is, gets communication. That's lender, title company. Even if we were to go as far as insurance, obviously our clients and even contractors get pulled in on the communication. And part of that's just so that we make sure everyone's on the same page, but also so that for our clients, because I've had homeowners or buyers that have been through, it's their first transaction, or it's their 10th transaction, but I've done 10 transactions in the past couple of months or in the past couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. It's not what they're doing every day, but making sure that everyone understands is it's important, and communication should be one of our pillars, but it's key to be on the team.
Mm-hmm. So we're visiting with Javon Martin with Aries Realty Group, powered by EXP. You mentioned a few minutes ago the issues that NAR has been dealing with, and how that's is and will trickle down and affect us all. because of what's transpired and what will be transpiring, is communication even more important now in working with clients than maybe it's ever been?
Yes. I mean, obviously, what I just went through, communication should have been, like, it should have been one of the main, business foundations for us as real estate agents. But I mean, I go back to my first buyer when we turned around and sold our house. Communicating to her mom was just like, I didn't know, this about commissions, or I didn't know about the process. And of course, us agents, we get kind of settled in our way. I was like, well, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But just because we think it should be doesn't mean that our clients think it should be. I actually, in our last team meeting, we go about, you see it on social media, us agents, we show the rainbow, the rainbows, the unicorns, the brighter side of real estate, but no one really knows what we do behind the scenes. And when we communicate what we're doing behind the scenes, all of a sudden that respect comes out that, okay, so you really are, worth this much. That's kind of the best way to say it. Or, oh my goodness, you do so much more than push papers and open doors.
Is that, we recently had a conversation with a large broker in town, and one of the things that he shared, and I wanted to get your opinion on it, was that he said that that's going to be critical for real estate professionals, whether you're representing buyers or sellers, and that is that they truly understand the value that you deliver, and you can't just assume or project that they will.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh, that's huge. You know what they say about assuming, but so like on the listing side, we offer a variable commission scale.
Okay.
And it's services based, like the tiered services. And perfect example, we've got a listing down in Pearland, and she's just like, well, just put my house on the market. The 3 Ps, post a sign, post a line, and pray that it'll sell. And then all of a sudden we've got this other house that's getting all sorts of attention in the same community. And she's like, well, why is the difference? And so I literally sat down with her and I was like, explain the differences between the different packages. And first off, she didn't understand that, that you could negotiate that. I'm sorry, I don't know what I can say on here or not.
No, but I think that's fair. That clarifying that everything is optional and everything can be negotiated, and let's just have a discussion.
Yeah, and that's literally what it was. Is we sat down and had a discussion, and the second discussion that we had was actually longer than the initial listing consultation, because she just dove into it and she's like, well, I want this, this, and this. And one of my sayings is you got to pay to play, but we don't get paid until we close. So I'm going to update you, minimum once or twice a week with what we're doing. We have an online system also that lets her know, or lets our clients know what's happening, when it's happening, what's coming up. And it just kind of, it was weird because I was sitting there and she's just like, oh my goodness, you really have been doing a whole lot. And when it came to negotiating on behalf of her, negotiating, kind of explaining things, she's like, you're doing a lot more than what the last, agent had done with her.
So we're visiting with Javon Martin with Aries Realty Group, powered by EXP. Mm-hmm. If folks would like to get a hold of you to visit with you and see about helping them buy or sell homes, how can they do that? So
my direct cell phone is 832-463-0437. And if I don't pick up, text me, because I'm probably with a client.
And what that number again?
832-463-0437.
Javon, thank you for being a guest.
Thanks for having me.
Our next guests are with Got Keys Realty, part of Vibe Realty, and we've got Zariah Vela and Heather Groom. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for being on Real Estate Matters.
Thank you for having us.
We really do appreciate y'all being here. Now, this is exciting. You just now started your team, so y'all kicked off January of this year with Got Keys Realty. How's the first 4.5 months gone?
It's been great. We have 12 agents already, and this was all through just us, word of mouth, or, no recruiting at all. We have 12 agents, and up to this moment, we haven't recruited.
That's fantastic. So, Heather, what was the reasoning behind you guys partnering up and forming the team?
So me and Zariah both worked for the same brokerage prior to. I've been a realtor for 10 years. She's been one for going on 7. And we were already partnering, doing truck show events, school events, stuff like that. So we were building off each other, and we decided we wanted to start a team.
So we talked about this a little bit with Javon. So what are the things that you look for when you're building your team? Because it sounds like you all have that experience, and you found a way that you play off of each other well. What are the things that you've been looking for in your team members to make sure that they're assets not only to the team but to your clients?
I think when we decided to start a team, we didn't want it to be just your regular real estate team, right? Everybody has a team. You have teams off all these places. We looked for more specific people. So we have people that I do probate and divorce. I have a girl that only does foreclosures. We have 2 other girls that will flip housing vouchers into home loans. We have people for renters. We have people for inside the loop. So everybody stays in their own lane and kind of has their own job. So nobody's stepping on each other.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about that on the areas of specification, areas that are unique to the firm that truly provide value to your clients. What are some of the areas where you work in, Heather, that really are specialized and unique for your clients?
Probably the probate and divorce part.
Okay.
Just because a lot of people, when they start going through a divorce or they have a probate and you have people pulling you from all these different angles, or you have special interest with everybody in a certain property and you don't know how to pivot that, people that specialize in it, we can kind of give you no, we don't want to get an appraisal because an appraisal is going to be 20% below value. No, we want to do comps. And then kind of getting people to agree and having them be like even kilter is probably the most important part. Okay.
We're visiting with Zariah Vela and Heather Groom of Got Keys Realty, part of Vive Realty. Zariah, what are some of the areas of expertise that you bring to your clients as part of the team?
I am huge with social media, so 90% of my clients come from social media. Not as a listing agent, what I like to offer my clients is social media marketing.
Okay.
Not everyone is searching on the MLS. Nowadays, we have a lot of people searching Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. So it's more exposure for their listing.
So are there some things that you do differently if you're, let's say you were helping me sell a home? Mm-hmm. Are there things that you do differently to promote my home via social media than you would through an MLS?
Oh, yes, definitely. Like I said, don't just put it on the MLS and pray that it sells and pray that I get a phone call. So what I do is an extensive market analysis on for the home end, so that way it can go on social media and do a huge marketing campaign.
Okay.
I also do a video, not just a video tour of the home that I push out there on social media, but it's related to anything around the home, like what shopping is there. I do drone footage. So it's all this amazing video for the listing, not just of the home. Like I said, it's whatever's surrounding the home, whatever's in the neighborhood. If there's a golf course, if there's a pool. So we're going to show that. And then I put it out on social media because there's buyers from everywhere that are looking and searching there.
So by doing it that way, I get the feeling of the whole experience of living in that area versus just the house itself.
Correct.
So, do you use all social media platforms? Are there some that are more successful than others, or do you vary the social media platform based upon who you think the audience is?
Yes. So they are all very different. They are their own little animal out there.
Okay.
So I love Facebook and Instagram. Mainly Instagram, but both are great for what I'm trying to do, which is sell the home. But TikTok is fun and it's for exposure.
So TikTok exposure, if you're truly looking to generate some interest, it's going to be Facebook or Instagram.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Heather, you had talked a little bit about when we were talking about some of the areas of expertise that you have and that the team has is some access to some information in and around mortgages and loans. Can you elaborate a little bit more about how you can help the folks that are looking to buy a home have access to the funds that they need?
So I'm an assistant for Vintage Home Loan.
Okay.
Todd Robertson is technically my boss, right? It makes it easier because I can streamline everything, right?
Okay.
And then we teach our team what the standard qualifications are, right? So when you go through all these home loans, they're going to have different credit scores, they're going to have different DTIs, they're going to have all of these different things that go into buying a home, right? So streamlining it makes it easier. I mean, obviously you give all the different referrals, everybody gets it, trying to buy down the rate, so on and so forth. But it is easier to have your hand in that too, because then you know where to put somebody. You're not chasing somebody around. You're not putting somebody in an FHA that could be in a USDA, stuff like that.
So are there a lot of options that are out there? I mean, it's more than just a FHA or a VA. There are a lot of other options that are out there.
Oh, tons. We have our whole team get certified in also owner financing, and we advertise owner financing on all of our listings also, because that brings 40% more buyers to any of the properties that you have listings. So you have all these situations now where people are making money off social media or making money off food trucks or restaurants or so on and so forth, and it's all cash money. Well, those people aren't going to qualify for your standard home loans. So if you don't have something else in play, like the owner financing piece or maybe the bank statement loan piece, or we even offer 5% on ITINs. If you don't have those things in play, then you're not going to be able to sell a house at all.
So share a little bit more for our listeners to educate them on the owner financing and then also the bank statement.
So on owner financing, it's a third-party owner financing. So essentially what it is it basically, they still get to build their credit, right? It's almost like a wrap mortgage, right? But it gives them a chance to pay an actual mortgage company, establish an actual line of credit, and then be able to refinance with no penalties.
Okay. And then the bank statement would be just kind of as it sounds, if for somebody that maybe doesn't have a traditional W-2 or...
Right. They'll pull 2 years of bank statements. They'll go through it. They do have to have a higher credit score, and both of those programs are a higher interest rate. But when you can refinance for free later on, or refinance at no penalty, then why wouldn't you?
So it provides some flexibility for those that are maybe in a non-traditional career, or as we're seeing, it's becoming a gig society, and people are having, even
realtors. Yep.
Yes. So, in getting ready for our discussion today, we're visiting with Zariah Vela and Heather Groom with Got Keys Realty. I also saw where you all have a specialty in luxury homes. Can you share with us a little bit about, if somebody's looking to buy a luxury home or sell a luxury home, kind of what that threshold is about where you move into that level, and then is it different to buy and sell a luxury home than it would be, let's say, a traditional $350,000 home?
Yes, absolutely. It is different type of clientele. So we have to be more strategic of how we work with them. Of course, we have to be willing to do the things that no one is willing to do. If they want a specific photo, if they want a specific type of marketing, anything like that. So it comes with more requests. So we're there to help them and guide them.
Okay. What would you say is, what begins a level considered a luxury home? What's that price point that moves you into a luxury home?
It varies.
Well, in Houston, so it's double whatever your average. So at a 350 average, your $750 would move you into the luxury market.
So $750 would be a luxury home. If a market is, the average home price is $5, the luxury would be $1 million. Okay.
Correct.
So that's kind of the benchmark for, do you have to, do you work with your clients the same way, whether they're if they're looking to buy or sell a $350,000 home versus a $3 million home?
I mean, I think our clients deserve the same amount of attention. So I'm like hearing people, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, we do a lot. And then I'm like, oh, well, I mean, that's just our personality. Our personality is we're very helpful. We talk to people. I talk to my clients 3-4 times a week, sometimes more. Because, we're also therapists too, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
So pretty frequently, but everybody deserves the same amount of attention, whether you're a $200,000 buyer or $1 million buyer.
Yeah.
So,
but they do have a little more requests, the higher end.
So, Zariah, would you tell us a little bit about how Vive supports y'all's team and helps you be more successful and treat your clients better?
Definitely. They have been so supportive. We made the switch from our previous brokerage to them because just the whole structure of them helping us, guiding us, building the contract for our agents, and just the support has been great. We love it there. The pay and the commission splits, all of that has just worked out. So they're very supportive, and they are a very team oriented brokerage. So there's a lot of teams in the brokerage. So the broker and the owner are pretty busy themselves. So they do tell and ask agents that join, look at the teams. If there's a team that you like, if you want to interview, because you're going to get the most support there.
That's fantastic. Well,
Well,
Heather,
and Sarah,
Yeah.
our office manager at Vive, she's a Trek certified instructor. So all of our classes that are held, we have at least 2 to 3 a week, are all CE classes. So really, at most brokerages, you're just spinning your wheels going to these classes. Oh, it's an inspector. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. But all these are CE certified. So at least you're getting something out of learning too.
That's fantastic. So if folks want to work with the Got Keys Realty team, how can they get a hold of y'all? Zariah?
Yes, my number is 832-966-1533, or you can email me at zariahrealestate@gmail.com.
And Heather?
My number is 832-797-9168. And then you can look at us on any platforms with Got Keys Realty Team.
So we're visiting with Zariah Vela and Heather Groom with Got Keys Realty Team. Thank you all for being with me on Real Estate Matters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now joined by Tom Carpentier. Tom is the president of Stewart Insurance. It's always special when you're able to join us, so thank you for being here.
John, pleasure to be here. I've got big shoes to fill because this is normally your segment, and I love listening to you every week.
Well,
thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and thanks for Stewart Insurance for sponsoring Real Estate Matters.
Absolutely. This has been a great opportunity for Stewart Insurance, and honestly, the entire real estate industry, because we learn something every week and helps us all play our roles in the market even better.
So when you and Betty Warren and Bill Napick were all talking about this, did you envision 521 shows?
I usually play a little chess and think a few steps ahead, but not that far out. So it's an accomplishment that we're all extremely proud of. There's no doubt about that.
So let's talk a little bit about some insurance. We're at the middle of the year, and this can be a good time for folks to reflect and see the types of coverage that they have. And what are some of the things, whether you're a real estate business or an individual, that you ought to be considering this time of the year as a kind of a mid-season evaluation of your coverage?
Well, as you know, obviously, we work exclusively with real estate-related businesses for their business insurance, and then obviously work with households. So, we really try to relate the message that, insurance is really not a commodity. It should be built specifically for you or your business, so you're properly insured. So the biggest thing that we start with and I think is important in terms of a mindset when it comes to building a risk management and insurance plan is to, really think about it as a plan and not just buying a policy to meet a requirement. Maybe you have a requirement of a particular type of insurance to manage your business, or you have a requirement to insure your home as part of a loan. First and foremost, remember it's for you. And you need to take that mindset. So evaluate the risks and develop a plan versus just buy a policy.
So you mentioned the term properly insured. What does that mean for the Stewart Insurance clients, whether they be a real estate business or an individual?
So we really work to get to know the client, understand their needs, understand their household or their business. At the end of the day, insurance is relatively simple. You're either going to offset risk to an insurance company or you're going to maintain some level of risk yourself. And when we talk about properly insured, it's going through that discovery, really looking at what the risks and exposures are, what the makeup of the household or the business is, and, guide clients to make a decision ultimately, in terms of maybe there are some things that they want to offset to an insurance company versus maintain the risk themselves. So it's not just deductibles, it's coverage components and everything else. So it's really getting in the weeds of, what the makeup of that client is and developing, that insurance policy as part of that plan specifically for them.
And you talked about in terms of building a plan versus just buying a policy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other terms that you used was risk management. So are there some things that as a real estate business or as an individual we can do to recognize the risks that are out there and minimize them so that could positively affect the type of coverage that we have?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we all need to do with our businesses and households is really think about risk management as being preventative measures, things that we can do to prevent claims or situations from occurring in the first place, whether it's a real estate brokerage firm, a restaurant, or whatever it is, whatever type of business it is. What are the best practices you can do to prevent liability or indemnity, property damage, professional liability, things along those lines. Secondly, a lot of people have an event happen and they don't really have a response plan. So it's really lining out if something does happen. I've done everything I can to prevent a situation from happening, but for whatever reason it happened, what am I going to do in terms of responding to ensure that I can engage my insurance provider and get the support I need? And lastly, the third part is really understanding the coverages and make sure that the policies that you're buying that make up your insurance plan really do have the intent to cover. In the real estate world, we see it a lot where, brokers have professional liability or, also known as E&O. And there's a lot of nuances and a lot of variances based on the makeup of the business, the services they provide. Heck, sometimes they're not even classified correctly, which can all impact coverage. So it's really making sure that you have things lined up to have a policy that truly has the intent to cover your exposures. And, like any other contract, words matter, right? And people can do a lot with those words.
So if you're writing, let's say you've got real estate brokers as clients that you're working with, and whether you're writing them errors and omissions or general liability or cyber liability, those plans are going to all be different depending upon the company. And is that the same thing for home insurance, that each individual's home plan is going to be different?
Yeah, so there's base levels in terms of what the intent of the policy is. And then, for example, a real estate broker, we got to dive in and really figure out what the services that are being provided. Is there property management involved? Is there leasing involved? Is it just simply buy and sell? Is there a commercial component to it versus residential? So all that kind of goes into the mix. So it's really understanding the services and what make up the makeup of the company to then step back and design a policy for them specifically. But at the end of the day, policies do have a direct intent, and that's you have to build on it from there. So maybe that's the commodity mindset that it's it's got a direct intent from the start, but it's really diving in and figuring out the nuances to really develop that policy as part of that plan properly.
We're visiting with Tom Carpentier, president of Stewart Insurance and sponsor of the Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Tom, share with our listeners the different types of coverages that we offer, both real estate businesses as well as individuals and families.
Yeah, anything that a real estate firm would need as part of their insurance plan. Our lead-in a lot of times is professional liability, but we're able to handle the general liability, workers' comp. Cyber is a big component. 10 years ago, no one in the industry would have thought about cyber until we unfortunately saw the level of breaches and the types of compromises that we see, not only with wire fraud, but now the bad actors are realizing, oh man, there's a lot of non-public data flowing through the transaction. It's a playground for them. So cyber is a big one. But anything that a real estate business would need from that side of it: household, home, auto, umbrella, flood, wind in this area. So we're full turnkey, I guess. Like I mentioned and have said, our difference is that we're not looking to gather data and spit out a quote. We actually, look to counsel people and be that risk management and insurance advisor for a household or a business, which is, it's different because we're there to guide and support from that side of it. So
if our listeners would like to learn more and become properly insured, how can they reach out to the Stewart Insurance team?
Yeah, we've got a great team that's extremely, dedicated to, making a true difference in the marketplace. And you can reach us. I've always said, as long as I have the seat, we'll never have a call prompt. So you'll get a real person ready to answer the phone. And to answer your question, the number is 866-798-2827, or you can email us at stewartinsurance@stewart.com.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate it, John. Thanks so much.
As we wrap up Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, presented by Stewart Insurance, we are so fortunate today to be joined by the sales representative and business development professional for the Woodlands and Willis, Shelley Keller. Hello, Shelley.
Hey, John. How are you?
Welcome. It's so nice to have you with us.
So wonderful to see you today.
So you have some big news for us.
I do. I have some really exciting news. Our Woodlands office, we will actually be moving locations. We are currently located in the Waterway. However, now we will be moving over off Technology Forest, and our new address will be 2445 Technology Forest Boulevard, with the zip code 77381.
So give us that address again.
2445 Technology Forest Boulevard, 77381.
And if somebody's looking to close, whether it be residential, commercial in Willis or the Woodlands, how can they get a hold of you?
512-630-1196.
Thank you, Shelley.
Yes, sir.
And thank you all for listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. If you do have an interest in a closing with one of our Stewart Title offices, just visit us at stewart.com and you can find a location. If you'd like to be properly insured, visit stewartinsurance.com. My name is John Bramblett, and thank you for being with us.